Good evening, fight fans, and welcome to another edition of CES Boxing Classics. I am your host, publicist, and matchmaker, Michael Parente. Tonight, we travel back in time all the way to March 21st, 2003, CES Boxing live from Foxwoods Resort Casino. Now, on the surface, the big story on this night, the return of Scott Sandman Pemberton and Gary Tiger Balletto, both in the main event and co-main event fighting for world titles. However, that's just only part of the story on this night back in 2003, because on the undercard, featured in a 6-round bout, was a young up-and-coming prospect from New Haven, Connecticut named Bad Chad Dawson. Now, at the time, Dawson was just 20 years old, about to celebrate his 21st birthday, and was taking a big step up against 10-1 Slik Willie Lee from Mississippi. Now, Dawson had fought a few 6-round fights before that. His record was 10-0, and he had passed every test swimmingly up until this point. But like any young fighter does, at a certain point in his career, Dawson realized in order to get to where he wanted to be as a legitimate prospect, he had to take those step-up fights and take those risks inside the ring. So on this night, he stepped up against a relatively unknown opponent. Now, keep something in mind. Not only was Slik Willie Lee a southpaw with very little known about him at the time, this is before the era of YouTube and social media where you could just tune in and find fights online. You really had to dig and do your homework to study an opponent. And so Dawson was put in a different position than most fighters are today when they're ready to take that step-up fight. So think about it for a second. It's 2003. You have New England icons Gary Balletto and Scott Pemberton, who were among two of the top fighters in the region at that time, on the top of the card fighting for titles. And here we are talking about a guy who would go on to accomplish some great things in boxing in Bad Chad Dawson. But on this night, very few in the building that evening understood who they were watching and what they were about to see from the man himself. So without further ado, we're going to take you back in time to one of the early fights in the impressive career of Bad Chad Dawson. Enjoy.
And it's underway. Chad Dawson and Willie Lee. That's not what you actually like to see. You're making these matches. Chad Dawson and Willie Lee. Dueling southpaws. At this point, a big shot for the knockdown.
I told you the dude can punch. He's got a good knockout percentage. We just found the kink in Chad Dawson's armor. Because Chad's a very good fighter, but there's something, that's the kink.
Tremendous development early as he's rocked. He's carrying that right hand so low.
Willie's letting it fly, and that's what he needs to do, because I think Chad's the better boxer, but Willie has the power from what we're seeing right now.
Well, Willie Lee has a pocket of opportunity right here.
Yeah, hopefully he don't let this go by, because if he lets this go, lets Chad get back in the game, I don't think it's going to be good for Willie Lee.
So if you're on the road and you score a knockdown early, you go for it right away.
You have to. You have to. Whether you're on the road, whether you're at home, you hurt a guy, you take him out, because you never know what can happen.
And Dawson's making a fatal mistake of backing straight up and dropping that right hand as he backs out. And you can see that Willie is looking around. Good right hook by Dawson. Keep him in front. See how he's popping straight back like that?
Yeah. You're right. Luckily enough, he's got some height, so he can get out of the way of more punches. If he was a shorter guy, he wouldn't be able to do that at all.
Right, step back, step back.
Come apart. First round brought to you by Mortgage Express of Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. And we almost had an express knockout in this fight. Tremendous beginning.
Oh, Willie's throwing the bomb.
Willie's throwing him from Louisiana.
I love that.
He left nothing home. Willie Lee 10-1 versus 10-0. We said at the beginning it's a battle of circuits. You know, sometimes you look at an area, you wonder how good is the area the guy fought in.
Right.
Well, Willie Lee is going to answer those questions here.
Well,
big shot by Dawson.
That was a nice left hand. Dawson threw right down the middle.
That's his favorite punch, that straight left hand, and he let it loose there. So we've had an explosive opening round. We've had Chad Dawson on the deck.
Nice.
And it's time for that gut check in his career. It has come in this fight.
And so far, he's living up to his reputation.
As we come to the end of Willie Lee is happy. It's Chad Dawson needs to adjust here.
Well, no matter what the boxing dealt with for the 3 minutes, Willie Lee won that round.
Come back in here. Okay, look, Willie, when he tires you up, man, work in here, hustle him in there. And make him step backwards. Don't let him come forward. Look, when you throw something, he steps out, step out.
Chad won the round boxing-wise, but Willie Lee's got the points on the scorecards of the judges.
Okay, that was your round because he went down.
Whenever you have to pick yourself up like that, it's pretty tough to win the round.
Yeah.
And most times, even though they say it's 2 points, it's almost automatic 10-8 in the cards. You know, you almost, even if you outbox the guy, it still comes out 10-8 a lot.
Certainly in that case. You the judge. Okay? Let's take advantage.
Let's take a look at the early fireworks here. Dawson was on the attack. Willie Lee was able to put him down. So into round 2 we go.
In that slow motion run, you just saw what you were talking about earlier. Dawson backs up a lot with his hands down.
Right. Yeah. That's a habit he's got to break. He's got to keep moving on.
If Willie will double step in and throw one of those bombs with the power that he has, Chad's going to be in trouble.
Dawson took a lot like Tomasz Adamek at 6'2". He's tall and rangy, has his long arms.
Most definitely. The longer this fight goes, the better it is for Chad, because Willie's going to lose power as the rounds go on. And you know, Chad's going to be the boxer, and he's going to get over on a more tired fighter.
Dawson opening up here. Probably going to work on Willie Lee, who gave him a rude wake-up call.
That was a real good counter right hook by Chad Dawson.
Good jab and a right hand and a right hook by Dawson, who seems to have all of his confidence back after the opening round, and Slik Willie Lee looking for a shot.
I tell you what, I like what Chad's doing, and I like the heart he just showed by getting. He got his ass wrong. He went down hard. He got up and fought well. He's doing very good this round.
If you'd been in his corner, what would you have told him after round 1?
I would have told him, don't let that affect you. You look good. You feel good. Tell me you feel good. I would make him say it twice. Go out there and fight your fight, because this guy's tailor-made for him. Fight's all about styles. This guy keeps coming in, and he's a shorter guy. This is a tailor-made fight for Chad Dawson. But Willie's making it a little hard for him, because he's catching him with sucker shots. He's hitting him with some big bombs. But Chad shouldn't be getting hit by these shots. You know, he's a very skilled fighter.
And for two southpaws, there's a lot more action here than we normally would expect. That's a good point, because we've seen so many fights where when you get the two southpaws, they both become silent and they wait, but these guys are bombing.
Chad just got nailed again. He's got to move.
Made the same mistake he made in the first one.
Yeah.
He gets caught up into an aggressive flow of the fight and just lets the hands go, and then it's a crapshoot. And then when he retreats, he's straight back with that hand down, and you can unload him. Willie Lee with a right hook that opens up.
Nice punches by Willie Lee. You can be the best boxer in the world, but if you can't take a punch in this game, you need to find a new occupation.
Day job would be a good idea. So we come to the end of round 2. Entertaining battle. Willie Lee versus bad Chad Dawson. Coming to the end of round number 2. Well, some concern there by Rick Dawson. Chad's father is in the corner. Right uppercut looks pretty composed, though, Vinny.
He looks very composed. God, my father would be all over me. Keep your damn hands up.
That's all. It's always a tough situation. You know, dads and their sons in the corner. A lot of times, they either push them too hard or they don't push them enough. But in this case, Rick Dawson seems to be just sort of measuring the situation and supporting him by staying out of it.
Yeah, Rick seemed pretty cool to me.
Good perspective came from Shane Mosey's father, Jack. He said, more father-son combinations in boxing would work if the fathers treated the sons like adults. It's easier said than done sometimes, but when you break it down that way, if you have the respect, maybe you keep the emotion out of it and sure go on. So into round
3 we go. Lefties with power punching intent. Bad Chad Dawson from New Haven, 10-0, 6 knockouts. Willie Lee from Gulfport, Mississippi, 10-1 with 7 knockouts and a knockdown to his credit early in the fight.
I'll tell you what, you got to give credit to the promoter, Jimmy Birchfield, for putting this fight together. You got 2 young guys, 10 wins, only 1 loss between the 2 of them. This is a good fight, and I'm surprised it was taken by either one of them.
Good jab coming through by Willie Lee. Nice left hand getting through by Chad Dawson. There's some of the reach to his advantage. He followed that.
I think Willie would get hurt a little bit by that.
Yeah, you can always usually tell when they start dancing around, putting their hands out, shaking their head. That's usually this.
Sure.
Shaking side to side, should be up and down. Dawson needs to stay composed here now. He's starting to find a little distance, but he seems to get involved as soon as it.
Couple jabs slipping through by Dawson as he becomes more meticulous in his aggression. That's a good shot home on Willie Lee.
The longer the fight goes, the more Willie Lee is going to be out of the fight.
Willie Lee was trying to time Dawson as he did on the knockdown, but as he tried to time him just before, he got caught.
He's still bombing away, Dave. This is still a dangerous fight for Chad Dawson.
Big shot by him. He's in trouble with shaky legs as Dawson opens up in a big left hand as Chad Dawson tries to go to work. Nothing but bombs here. He's got Lee in trouble. Big right hook by Dawson. Referee looking closer. Left hand's coming through by Dawson. These are big shots.
Lee's fighting back.
A fortuitous break by Lee as the referee separated them.
You can't stop it because Lee's fighting back.
It's over. He lands a tremendous bomb there.
That was a hell of a win.
Came back from adversity there. When he got his chance, took him out completely, took him apart.
A lot of emotion by Chad Dawson. After you get knocked down in the first round and you come back and knock the guy out, that's a hell of a way to win.
A gratifying come from behind, spectacular knockout victory for Chad Dawson.
Gratifying, Dave. Good word for that win.
There's all kinds of wins, but when you can get off the deck and do it, psychologically it counts twice.
Sure, I mean, from Dawson, he was coming in this fight, he had lost the weight, he had things on his mind, certainly. Then he get dropped in the first round. It's easy to sit there and say, I never should have lost the 10 pounds, how can I win this fight? Instead, he gets up and he says, I know I can win the fight. I'm going to start throwing right hands and left hands.
So the gut check is passed by Chad Dawson as he opened up here on Willie Lee.
He loves that left hand.
He sensed from Willie Lee's actions that he was vulnerable, and there's the capper right there.
Right, that left hand really good. It hurt him the first time and it finished him the second time.
He just opened up. You know, that's the way you're supposed to take a guy out. You get a guy hurt, you just jump on him and just open up. And more than not, the referee will stop the fight. Then in that case, you didn't have to because Willie Lee crashed down hard.
The first time Willie was hurt, you know, when he went to clinch, instead of grabbing his arms, he grabbed him around the neck. You know, just sort of holding on.
When you're in that position, Ron, it's not so easy to pinpoint the guy's neck.
But Chad Dawson scoring the victory in round 3 as they attend to Willie Lee. He saw an opening, and we were talking, Vinny, that he'd been showing his jab, but he knew when to abandon it and load up.
He loaded up at the right time. You nail a guy with a big shot, you see him waver just a little bit, you just go in and jump on him. You know, sometimes you got to throw caution to the wind in this game.
And it seemed like he picked up something about Willie Lee, though, in the second round that he was able to apply in round 3.
Chad Dawson was the better boxer. Willie Lee had a good punch, but I told you, the more the rounds went on, the more in favor it would go to Chad Dawson. So it was really a good fight, great win. Great fight to start an opening card for us.
Let's get the final numbers from Joey Birchfield.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the third round, winner by knockout, 2 minutes and 38 seconds of the third round, Connecticut's own Bad Chad Dawson! Bad Chad Dawson, 11-0.
Dawson gets off the deck and then gets the victory as he's making his way over.
Well, there you have it. Your winner, Bad Chad Dawson by third-round knockout. A truly dominating performance for the man from New Haven, Connecticut, who improved his record that night to 11-0 in a big step-up bout, which would eventually launch his career to some great things. Now, for Slik Willie Lee, his career didn't last that much longer. He only fought 7 more times and eventually retired with a record of 17-7 and became what a lot of fighters in the game end up as, which would be a journeyman. But for Bad Chad Dawson, it was really just the beginning. Later that year, in October, Dawson came to Providence, Rhode Island to take on Dumont Welver to win the first of many titles, this time capturing the WBC Youth World Middleweight Championship at 160 pounds. And what was interesting about that fight against Welver was that it was a rematch of a bout they had in the Pan Am Games as amateurs, in which Welver actually beat Dawson. This time around, Bad Chad got the upper hand and would go on to have the upper hand throughout the entirety of his career. After that bout, 4 years later, Bad Chad Dawson won his first world title in 2007 when he defeated Tomasz Adamek to capture the WBC Light Heavyweight Championship. And from there, really, the rest is history. Dawson, between 2007 and 2012, was arguably the best pound-for-pound boxer in the world. His resume included 2 wins over Glenn Johnson, 2 wins over Antonio Tarver, 2 bouts against Bernard Hopkins, one being a no contest, and the second one being a big victory for Dawson to capture his second world title. Dawson would eventually reign as the IBF and the WBC Light Heavyweight Championship during a 5-year stretch as dominant as any, and in my opinion, a 5-year stretch that should entrench him firmly in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Now, Dawson today is still going at it. He returned to CES Boxing in 2019 in June to take on Quentin Rankin in his comeback fight at the age of 37. Dawson has won 2 fights since returning to the ring from a 3-year layoff and is currently 36-5 with 19 knockouts. When asked what his endgame was, Dawson said he still feels he can be the best in the light heavyweight division and recapture championship glory. We'll see. Only time will tell if Dawson gets back in there and is able to relive some of those glory days from the early 2000s. But on this night back in 2003, we just saw that early glimpse of what we would come to expect from the lanky, tall, slick southpaw known as Bad Chad Dawson from New Haven. I hope you enjoyed this look back in time with CES Boxing Classics. I'm Mike Parente, and we'll see you next week.